FeastOnAdventure.com. I wrote a cookbook about making non-perishable meals out of freeze-dried, dehydrated, and instant foods for camping, hiking, skiing, climbing, or anywhere that refrigeration is an issue. In this video, I'm going to take you through making my recipe for Thruway shawarma with yellow rice. Okay, I'm going to prepare this dish in two containers. I'm going to prepare the yellow rice first, and then the chicken shawarma in a separate dish. Basically, this is because these two dishes have the potential to be served separately. You might choose to package them separately for your trip in case you fish along the way, and if you catch fish, the yellow rice might be a really nice accompaniment to that. But you could also just choose to use these recipes separately. For example, you might pack pita to serve the chicken shawarma in, or something like that on your trip. So let's begin. For the yellow rice, we're going to begin with 2/3 of a cup of minute rice. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of dehydrated diced tomato. In this case, I'm using a freeze-dried diced tomato, but you could also use a sun-dried tomato or just tomatoes that you diced and dehydrated yourself. The freeze-dried tomato is going to rehydrate a lot better than a dehydrated tomato, although the freeze-dried tomato does have a tendency to be somewhat spongy. Then we have 2 teaspoons of diced jalapeno pepper. You can get that often in your produce section at the grocery store. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of bouillon, the bouillon of your choice. I'm using chicken bouillon here, and I'm using one that is salt-free and not the cubed variety. Then add 1 teaspoon of onion flakes. Follow that with a 1/4 teaspoon of fried garlic. Now that's a dried product that you can find at most Asian specialty markets. Then we have a spice mixture. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of fermented lemon powder, which I have a video explaining how to prepare. 1/8 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/8 teaspoon of black lime powder, which is optional, a pinch of MSG, which also is optional, a pinch of ground cloves, a pinch of ground cardamom, and ground pepper to taste. If you need a substitution for the fermented lemon, you could use dehydrated lemon zest and a pinch or more of citric acid. For the shawarma, we begin with 1/2 cup of diced freeze-dried chicken. Again, you could use a dehydrated chicken product in its place, but the freeze-dried diced chicken really rehydrates very well, pretty much to the consistency of conventional chicken, and tastes really good. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of bouillon, same comments as from the rice. Then we're going to use 1 teaspoon of shawarma spice. Now if you can, you may be able to find shawarma spice in your local grocery, but if you can't, my recipe companion to Feast on Adventure contains a recipe for mixing your own. Then we'll be adding 1/2 teaspoon of dehydrated tomato sauce that has been pulverized in a blender, a 1/4 teaspoon of fermented lemon, and a pinch of citric acid and a pinch of MSG, the MSG being optional. Before rehydration, we're going to want to mix both of these really well to get all the flavors dispersed throughout. Now I would usually pack these up in reusable freezer bags and not directly in their dishes for taking on a trip. And when I do that, I just add everything into the bag and then shake the bag really hard to mix it all up. Okay, so now to rehydrate. For the rice, we're going to want to cover this with water, which means to basically just bring it to about a float, like that did there. Mix that really well again to make sure that the spices and herbs are getting dissolved and mixed into the mixture really well. After we mix it, if the water is all still below the rice, we're probably going to want to add a little bit more just to make sure that that rice is covered well. And then we can cover that and let it sit for 5 minutes. For the chicken shawarma, we're going to want to just barely cover that with water. Right about there is going to be good. Again, mix that well to make sure that everything gets distributed. In the case of the chicken shawarma, we should start to see the spice mix coat the chicken and change the color. And then if there's really no water left in the bottom of the cup after we've mixed, we should add just a little bit more. And then that is also ready to cover and sit for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, Our rice and our shawarma should be ready. And the last step then would be just to mix up our rice again, get it nice and fluffed, and then to serve our shawarma on top. And that's my Thruway shawarma on yellow rice. Hey, thanks for watching. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about just add water cooking. Apparently there's some bell you can click if you want to be notified when I post something new. I've never clicked it, but go ahead if that's your thing. To find out where I source some of the more unusual ingredients in my recipes, go to my website, feastonadventure.com. And while you're at it, consider buying my book, Feast on Adventure. It has over 40 recipes designed for camping, hiking, skiing, climbing, or anywhere that refrigeration is an issue. It also teaches you everything you need to know about freeze-dried, dehydrated, and instant ingredients, and provides a framework for turning your family favorites into just add water meals.